money on transportation or should we rather spend that money on problem discovery or research and development or something. Ensuring that you are separating that issue from and then you are tackling the issue based on what the issue is, on the content of the issue, rather than attacking the person who has that, who has a different opinion to yours. I think that is one of the first places to start, if it's not the first place. I think that one of the first places to start when it comes to understanding that, okay, this thing needs to move forward and when it comes to conflict resolution. So having that mindset, having that understanding at the back of your mind when it comes to operating with people, like it's not just personal and professional, it's not just professional relationships, but it's also personal relationships. So also understanding that there needs to be that separation of the issue from the person. So you are tackling the issue, you're not supposed to be tackling the person. And it's a thing that's difficult to achieve, which is where the skill part comes in, which is where they have to now build up that skill, because it's easy to look at for somebody to say something and be like, you are stupid. It is very, very easy for somebody to say something and you in your mind and say, you are stupid for saying this. But what you actually do is you think that what the person said is stupid. But now it's big trouble. Nobody wants to take that time to say, oh, I think that what you said is stupid. It's just easy to say, yeah, stupid. You say this is primary school. Yeah, stupid. It's easy to say it that way. But at the stage that we are in now, it's like you're unlearning what you've learned for the past over 2 decades of your life. And you're unlearning all of that. And then, so that's where I think that yes, it is a valuable skill to know how to resolve conflicts, to identify ways to resolve conflicts and ways to even, if possible, avoid conflicts where you should avoid the conflicts.
Thank you, Sir. So any other contrary or argument to that question? Is conflict resolution a vital skill? Yes or no? Okay, let's see. Ismail, I say something. Let's look.
I've not said it all. You say that I've said it all.
It's not all.
I'm not gonna say it.
Oh!
So like we hardly deal with conflict. The only time we have conflict is because I'm a developer. So we really have conflict with code. So
That's how you do perspective. When it comes to food, when you are computer,
when it comes to conflict with code, what we have to do is we have to look for what's the cause of the conflict. So it might be human error, it might be package error, and it might be because of old version. So as according to what he said, it's not about attacking the person personally. It's about dealing with what is causing the issue. Like let's say maybe you're working with somebody and he's having an issue of light. So because he's not delivering his work in time, he's having an issue, that does not mean that he's not consistent. It's just that the circumstance that is around him is not allowing him to deliver his work in time because of lack of electricity. Then we can now talk about maybe giving him extra money for electricity to solve his life. Or him himself will have to try venture and think of a place where he can get consistent line.
like leaders of come to leaders of again like
Yes. So that's it.
Sure. What is what can you say about conflict resolution? Mr. Ansha, no,
not say done. No.
Okay,
That's
Mr. Victor. I'll go back to Mr. Victor Shah.
Okay, yeah. This topic is very, very important because at one point of your you would have to interface with people. You have to work with people, and these persons may have different kind of experiences, different kind of ideologies, and all that. And that is where the friction comes in. So there are some people that assimilate things differently, and people who receive information, especially criticism, differently. You know, whereas other people have found a way to receive criticism in constructive manners. Some other persons don't have that ability to do that. So conflict, especially in our personal relationships and professional relationships, are bound to happen. And it's very important to know how to navigate through when such situations present themselves, because you don't want to live or be in an environment where it's chaos all the time. So many people walk out of jobs, walk out of friends, even family, because they feel, especially for workplaces, they feel such kind of environments are toxic. You hear of toxic environment because people find it difficult to, find a way to solve problem or communicate their concern. That one too is a very important one, because you having the emotional intelligence to know how to speak to someone to solve that problem is, or to put out your displeasure about a particular thing, whatever it is very, very important. I kind of understand with him when he said he's a developer. Developers don't like interfacing with people at all. So if you take a developer and you put him in a place where you have to be communicating with people, where you have that conflict to be there. Because the point where the developer is trying to explain something, his best way to explain that particular thing to you is technical. So, and it's hard to understand it. So at the point where he's trying to tell you X, Y, Z, will give you this, I will take so and so time to finish this, and you as a lay person that don't have that knowledge is trying to contest with him. You see, that conflict will be there.
Okay, thank you, sir. So the next question is, what are some essential skills required for effective conflict resolution? What are the skills that is required in order to actually resolve a conflict?
I think the most essential part is communication.
Communication skills. Okay. Any other skill? Communication is not all.
Communication and listening.
Listening skill.
Yes.
Yeah. Now you're coming on.
Communicate and listening.
Yes. And also empathy.
Empathy. Yeah.
And I think empathy gets as well. So, my housemate and I, we had an argument yesterday, and it was about. Okay, I don't know if I should do. Let me skip over that part.
That's going to share your experience with conflict.
I will share my experience with
Yes.
conflict resolution, but I'm not going to go into so many details for certain reasons.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that when it comes to apart from communication and listening skills, there's also the place of empathy, of understanding that your own perspective is not the only perspective to everything. So your own reality or what you're experiencing is not the way every other person is experiencing this problem that is causing the conflict. So if you take a moment to try to see it from the other person's point of view, when you also just go understand that, okay, it is not just that, it is not the person that is being stupid. It is that you have an issue that is separate from the person. So after getting that one sorted out, you then try to understand, okay, why is this person saying it this way? And then appreciate that, okay, this person believes this thing because they have a certain level of experience. There was something that Hillary Clinton said once okay, I don't agree. There are a lot of things that she has said that I personally do not agree with. But there was one thing that she said one time about when she was Secretary of State, and she was talking about, I think she was talking about the whole crisis in the Middle East, terrorism, and all of that. And she said something that a lot of people took and they were so angry about it, that how we should be saying this. What she said was, we should understand where the terrorists are coming from, like, their mind state. For us to be able to properly solve this problem, we should understand. And then people were like, oh no, she's sympathizing with terrorists, she wants to agree with terrorists. No, 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 no. That's not what she was saying. Her point was, understand that they don't see things the way you see things. They don't see how you can use that to then solve the problem. Because both sides, one thing that both sides agree on, first of all, the reason why they are there is that there's a problem.
Yes, sir.
So they are already agreed that there's a problem, first of all. So now agree that, okay, let us see it from each other's perspective. So you, as on your own end, as company, are going to try to see it from the other person's perspective. It's also expected that the other person tries to see it from your perspective. But if the person cannot, you can then try to communicate, which is very important. Try to communicate your own perspective in a respectful manner. So it's not like, are you stupid? Can't you see what I'm saying? No, relax.
Calm down.
Calm down. So you try to explain your own perspective in a respectful manner so that both sides can have a better understanding of what exactly
Causing the conflict.
what's causing the conflict and how both sides are seeing.
Facing and actually come together.
Yes.
Sure, Mr. Answer, I'm back to you. What can I say about what are the skills you think you need to have as a person to solve this conflict issue?
Yeah, the same. Mr. Abraham already said communication. And you know about understanding, like each system. You have to understand from the perspective of that people. You have to know what they are doing to be able to interact with their problem. So you already said
Okay, sir. What are the skills?
Okay, for me, I think what I've mentioned encompasses everything we say. Need to be emotional intelligence. So you have to, if you are emotionally intelligent, then you have empathy. Then you know how to communicate, you know how to give feedback. So you always want to look at the person's perspective before dealing with the person. Let's take for instance. You know, I like the fact that STEM, everything we're talking about is gearing towards leadership. So let's take for instance a boss in an office. A staff does something. You know, a wise boss will try to know, will try to understand the state at which that person was at that point the person did that. You get? So there should also be mentorship. You understand? There should also be mentorship, follow up, and all that. So when you have emotional intelligence, it helps to navigate through conflict with whether co-workers, with your subordinates, your family member, and all that. So that you are putting yourself in their shoes first before making a judgment.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, the next question says, what are the common obstacles that hinders effective conflict resolution? No, we are saying communication now. We are saying active listening. We are saying all sorts of skills. So, what are the things that actually hinders these skills from solving these conflicts?
I need deep.
I don't go agree, not with anyone in 2024.
I give Jimmy.
That's one, and that's not all. Assumption is one of it. You have to, okay, this person is okay, whereas the person is passing through a lot. Assumption is one of it. So, yeah, let's know this. What are the things that actually does conflict resolution? Fair now, who get asked? I agree, assumption. Misunderstanding as well. Not getting the right information. It's one of the things that actually can cause an injustice effective communication, conflict resolution skills. So, any other thing?
Ask the question.
Okay. What are some common obstacles that can hinder effective conflict resolution skills? That can hinder it. Mention one is agreed, that one is general. You try to be on your own rights, like it is my right to do this, I know go do it. Whereas you need to stay calm and stay up.
Well, pride.
Pride is one of it. Yes, pride. Again, you are coming up. Yeah. See it now. Pride is one of it. Bad attitude. We have a lot of bad attitude. Lack of manners, lack of moral. These are things that actually, yes.
We did it on that issue of morals.
Yes, yeah.
These are morals are subjective. You are the people. You are the people. Morals are subjective. Morals are based on cultural acceptance. What a culture accepts to be moral or not to be moral. And it is one thing that I remember from my social studies. Culture changes over. So if a culture changes over time and morals are based on what is culturally accepted, then morals also change.
So you must be ready to bend.
So you must be ready to understand that what you consider or accept as moral is not what another person accepts or considers as moral. So I think that is still an obstacle to conflict resolution in that people don't accept that others have a different set of morals or guidelines when if there's a moral issue, there's a moral aspect to the conflict. So not accepting that there's different moral perspectives, moral standards that are going to play in the moral conflict.
Okay, sir. Don't say anything.
Let me understand what's all
Okay, the question. What are some obstacles that hinder conflict resolution?
Yeah, I mentioned pride.
Yes, sir. More, what
Let me
more?
let me see that.
You can come in, sir. Okay, that's our great thing, sir. Sure. Okay, let's move to the next question, which says, can you share your experience where conflict resolution did not work? And what did you learn from it? We are saying calmness. When you are too calm, people be like, this one, she will not say anything, she will not do anything. So, there are some stage where conflict resolution will not work for you. Communication will not work. You listening will not work, then you want to do your thing by yourself. So, has it ever happened that conflict resolution skills do not work for you? Share your experience with us. You are going to be let's learn from that. And what did you do? How do you now solve the issue? Is it that you just walk away and everything? No connection, no communication system. So, who will get that to start?
Well, I'm going to start.
Okay, sir.
I'll just give a scenario. You know, just like you rightly said, that morals are subjective rights. What you might see as morally acceptable So I was privileged to work with a company where I was the manager. So now, this was what happened. I've had so many experiences about leadership, leading people in the past and all that. I led people, and sometimes I apply different principles that fail. So I've over time learned how to, navigate through conflict with people. But then, in that particular setting I was, things operated differently there. In that, the owners of the company, let me just say, my boss, wanted a different approach to resolving conflict. My own approach was, if there's a problem, I try to speak to the person, I try to find out what the cause of the issue is, what happened to you, why did you do this, and all that, to try to see how I can help the person to also do it. And it worked for me because I gained that followership. They trusted me, and over time, they believed in me, and we actually moved together. But the owner of the company saw it differently. He felt that I was kind of, I was kind of too, lenient with my subordinates. So his approach was, if there was something wrong, if somebody did something wrong, he would expect you to shout, to scold the person, to try to, ridicule the person and all that, just to show that you're a leader. But that didn't work with me, that didn't sit well with me. So I kind of had lots of conflict with the management because I couldn't see myself doing that, even though I had to put my feet on the ground for some certain cases. But dealing with people, I had my own ways of going about it. But for the question you asked, what did I do when I discovered that, um, my own way of conflict resolution was not acceptable? I discovered that the whole thing became a problem for me. And the system wanted me to be a different person. And that didn't align with my own values. So I had an internal conflict with myself, accepting what they wanted me to do. So that didn't work for me. I had to do it. Yes. So it now has to do with you accepting to compromise what you think is right, or deal with your conscience by doing what you want. But for me, I felt I couldn't have that, so I had to.
Thank you, sir. Yes, I can. Any experience? What did you do?
Well, experience is kind of personal. In this case, in university. When I was in university, I was a campus student. And after this, basically one of the student organizations. And what we do is our students with a group with the same on campus. You carry out a project, you're expected to carry out a project during the year. And sometime in the middle of the year, so we are June, May, June, July, there will be the national competition. Then you go to either for us was Lagos, the time but before it used to be, I think it used to be Abuja also. So we expected to go to Lagos to present at the national competition. And on this, I think it was in 20. Oh, I joined the NAPOS in 2017 when I was in 200. I didn't know that just last month it was what was going to cause fight between me and my dad. But my dad was of the opinion that if you are in school, unless you are coming back home, there's no reason why you should pass your school gates. And me, I'm of the opinion that, well, when I was in secondary school, sure, I know the comments. Because I didn't say I was, I didn't get inside. But then, when I was in the university, I started to realize that, see, some of the opportunities that will come for you will not come to meet you where you are in the past. Some opportunities will come to meet you in the past, yes, but there are some opportunities that are outside. So you have to take, you have to sort of increase the surface area of your dog. See. So I joined an outdoors big tech and able to do Saturday. And then in 2019, I was the started as a team secretary in the project management. And we were supposed to go to Lagos for the competition, for the national competition. And told me that we are traveling to Lagos. I said, why are you going? Where are you going to? Why are you leaving school? I don't. Isha ended that we are not going to leave that school. What are you leaving school for? I should be leaving school. And I was like, that's like, hey, the opportunities like that are bountiful. I cannot miss out on something like that. I can't miss out on this experience. Because it's one thing to work on a project, it's another thing to present the project before judges and to caliber of judges that come from this competition. And not this. I mean, if you know this guy, Toyeko, founder of Sahara oil company, yeah, he's the chairman of the board of Enatos Nigeria, and he's always present to judge your presentations. KPMG, one of the big four consulting firms in Nigeria, they will be there. So as I'm very finish your presentation, asking you questions based on how well you are able to. There's somebody that will way you answer all the questions, told you won't say after they finish presenting, like 5 to 6%. After they finish presenting, told you won't say go and sit down, here you go, and put all the questions that the judges were asking you. Judges were so impressed because job offers trying to take speech. This is most job offers from every This is offered from companies like Cambridge, industry leaders, across several different industries in Nigeria. So I looked at it and I said, that a time was coming in a man's life where he was choose if he's going to be a daddy boy for the rest of his life, or if he must decide to be a man. I said that this is my moment where I choose that I'm going to be a man. So I did all the necessary things that I needed to do to be able to take leave from school. Luckily, we had DVC, which was already from the chairman of our Enatos UI board. So he helped us facilitate transportation and everything, getting letters of we just get charged. We go there, the letter that we used to leave school, we got that for us. So we did all of that. But on the personal side, like that, let me see. I have to go. There's a lot that is trying to do this, both personally for me and then also for the team. Because I was the project manager, I was expecting that I would be there to, even if I'm not going to be presenting the team, but at least I should be there to help the team to answer questions. I have the most knowledge, especially I have the most knowledge about the two projects that we're going to present. Sure, the team leaders were there as well, as project managers expected that I should be there to. So I'm sorry, but this one we have to disappear. I have to go. There's a lot right now this for me, both personally for what me I want to achieve for myself, and also for the team that I am a part of. So I can just let them down like that and sit down back at home and all let me doing. Go to Lagos, something whether good or bad, whatever happens. So for my dad had to brilliantly say that when it goes to Lagos, when they're going to Lagos, it's party and friends. Party and friends, I won't sleep until like 2 o'clock. And then I'll wake up by 5 because we have to travel from the hotel to the event venue and all that. So eventually, how much did you maybe more than 400 years? The first time ever in the history of that competition that I ever seen we finish presenting. Normally, when you present that national competition, judges ask you questions.
I just want to call you. I think it's the time to have a talk on this thing and this thing. But I'm actually facilitating better friendship, relationship, and so on. So I will also take it from where Mary talks. So now, how do we maintain effective communication and build trust and have communications in which I think this is kind of huge. Now, a lot of conflicts, and I just want to give like a background into some of the very craziest scenarios. So, since we have remote work, right, communication now becomes more complex and complicated because people that you don't see, you read cues. And a very typical scenario was one of my former colleagues, she was trying to apply for a job. And the HR they are going back and forth on the application. So, but their negotiation basis for salary didn't work out. So the HR sent email, she responded, and she shared the email with me, and my interpretation was different totally. What was I reading? I was reading for her using exclamation mark after the email saying thank you exclamation mark. I was reading the fact that the woman didn't spell her name fully. Like you are saying Oluwashola, and you are saying Shola, and she has been using Oluwashola from the start of the conversation. You see how big it can be. So, just stepping back. So in this case, first is, are we even conscious of all these things? To start with, maybe because I take it too far, or have you experienced something like that before? There's an aspect of email and brain, right? And there's an aspect of you. There's a formula of 777. When someone sends a message to you, that I will respond in 7 minutes, 7 seconds, 7 minutes, and 7 hours. Anything past that is heresy, can turn to something else, right? So first is, are we even conscious or aware of digital conflicts means? Right? Yes, because I can tell you that about several cases, right? Especially when you are working with bosses that are working with you. If you are seeing your boss every day, it's another level. If your boss is not available, this is in UK or this is in Lagos, you are in Ibadan, it's another thing entirely, right? Because we communicate based on how the person sounds. There's one of our boss when she call and I laugh differently. I laugh, I can read it. I know that one is not valid. She just wants to laugh it out. She just wants to laugh and say, you come back. Right? So a lot of things we are reading currently. And I can tell you that people are more conscious and more sensitive more than before. So first is, are we conscious of the digital conflicts means, right? How conflicts can be instigated through digital means?
I think it really touched on.
I'm going to
the fact that there's, as the world moves into more digital remote for us, a lot of us are moving into that space. it's like we have to learn communication all over again. Because if I see you face to face and I look at your face, I can interpret based on those cues. The sort of your mood. I can interpret your your if you say something, I can interpret that, oh, you don't particularly mean this, or this is what you mean, or maybe you are trying to hold back whether your excitement or your anger or something. That is if it's happening face to face. But if it is remote, there's there's a whole new set of rules. So in a way, it still plays back to how well can you learn the new rules of the workplace. Because okay, right now I'm working. One of the people I work with, he's even though we are not in the same time zone at all. Yeah, I was going to say, wait, say that 777. This 777, he can't work. It can work in some way because there are times when, okay, our time zones will overlap. But for someone who is 5 hours behind, for someone who is in a entirely different continent, right now, me, I'm thinking that, oh, it's time for me to be going to the house. He is thinking, oh, this is high noon, it's time for me, let me get settled into work properly. So we are different energy levels, first of all. That's number one. And number two, when he sends a message at a particular time, I might already have dropped out of work. I might not even be in the right mind space to answer it. And then after that, I will not sleep. And then when I wake up, if let's say if I go sleep, say I sleep for 6 hours or 5 hours, it's not immediately I wake up that I'll say I want to start answering some of this stuff. I have other things to do in my life. So by the time all of this time, only 7 hours. But what I appreciate about this guy is that his his rule is be as explicit as possible without over communicating. Be as explicit as possible without over communicating. One thing he even particularly appreciates is if you can record a quick long video. So if you need to explain something to him in the video, you can show him record your screen or just you yourself talking. He appreciates that. So I think by doing that, he's able to pick up on audio cues, he's able to pick up on visual cues by looking at your face while you're recording the video. Or he's able to pick up on those things and he's able to understand better and interpret better what you're saying. So I think uh, now that the world is moving into a more remote uh, mode of work, it helps if we take advantage of these tools. First of all, be explicit in your communication, be as explicit as possible without over communicating. Without communicating to the person you're communicating. That's what you're not just going to be dumping all the information that leads to it. So that's very not a very fast. Study the communication, very good at that because you are very good to spread. You're not going to be spreading and then tying the goods to a key and start explaining to you is the way you're supposed to be explaining the goods. So you are going over communicating, the explicit without over communicating, and as much as possible, try to provide as much context as is necessary. And then if there is a need for it, record videos if you can. If that is a way around the problem that's arising, because now that there's the digital space has entered conflict creation. Now that there is digital conflict creation, we then need to use digital tools to resolve the conflicts.
So, and that is just very interesting. Right? Because for me, as humans, I actually think a lot of things. Sending emails are to very interest, right? And how to know people, how best to communicate with them. Some people say, well, even if you send an email, still notify them. So a lot of things in wrong. So let me hear from you as well.
Yeah, I think we have touched a lot. The digital era has created a lot when it comes to different perspective to communication. Um, but I think you mentioned something, and I think one way to overcome that is to learn tonality and light, especially when you communicate with people through mails or chats and all that. So if people could learn how to write in tones that will not be perceived as that will not be that wouldn't give certain negative impressions. I think that would also help as well. I think we made mention of some scenarios where you have to read somebody's email and then you sense a lot of things from it. The person might feel I'm communicating the best way I can to this person. But then you as the receiver, you reading it because you can't see the expression from this person. You can't see the body language, you can't pick up those visual cues from the person. You give whatever the person is writing any meaning. You understand? So if people could learn how to put up writings in ways that can really give negative impressions. That's
That actually just made me realize something. Especially for us, people communicating with their partners. Sometimes, or a lot of times, when when people are angry or when you have tendency to get conflict, everyone, the parties involved, they are sensitive. As our parties, we are emotionally sensitive. But I've learned something, or I've done something is that time I went back, I went type, I went send a message. And I'm very sure that if I'm typing,
Maybe don't respond like respond in the right emotional state. Sometimes you also have to calm down and give the person what. But then at least you calm down and give it to the person what. So that's why I think.
and I think when you are calm, by the time you are presenting, to teach the person
It's like doing it there because but then it's clinical. Finishing it.
So and sometimes and when we have conflict, what is actually happening is different perspective, right? So and one day you're hitting is also cultural differences, right? Cultural boundary, right? So that is another thing, right? And even if you are seeing same cultural differences, cultural differences is not speaking to ethnic group, is not speaking to religion, right? It's speaking to even generation,
Yeah. Differences between different generations.
so that the culture is for me it's even more complex, right? So for instance, I want to visit someone, and I know that this person is like a baby boomer, right? I don't get my share from even it's on a working day. I put on a meeting, right? And I can tell you, just appeal to the person, just interesting. So that's how far we can go, right? So how do our cultural differences impact conflict resolution approaches, right? We have seen people. I've worked in a law firm before, and it's the corporate commercial. So you don't go to court. Every case, even if it's like divorce, they won't go to court first. They call them into the boardroom and we settle case first. But if you now say your head strong, say go and do your worst, litigation is the next, right? So how do cultural differences impact conflict resolution approaches and what can we learn from diverse perspective? Now we've talked about perspective, right? But the major thing is, one of my colleagues, anytime there's a new employee, she always do something. She will send you a link, which do personality assessments. And she has done it for everybody in the organization. Not because they want, she's in the HR department, but not because it's HR, but she wants to communicate with you based on who you are and based on the way you view things. So it is very, very interesting that we learn people's perspective and what causes or what causes conflicts is really not different perspective and not agreeing with each other's perspective. So how can we, cultural wise, how can we reach middle ground and resolve conflicts? Generation. So because it is complex, you will need a gate man. Right? Okay, maybe I've shared this experience. Maybe it's going to work for me. Is there any plan? Yeah, maybe at least so what I got there. It's like recently. When I see the gate man, I say, oh, what is that? Just I don't know. The man shared one vital information, which is very, very key. I get it very good. I can never recognize man. Right? But was like, no, you are going to go through this process. But this is the essence of the process. And the man I greeted him before, but we met in the restroom. And I greeted him again. So can you see how so just think about it that maybe I go met man and I just ignore them. And some people you don't have to treat them, right? You don't have to greet them. For instance, if she's sending you something, whether you know anything or she will share her information with you, she expects you to call her second. Say thank you. Say, you told me yesterday that and do you know that yeah, okay, go to this man's place and he's going to assist you with this. No, I believe that anybody can just render or start support. She believes that if she's not calling you, she won't call you the second day. Look at you, well. Call you the third day. You don't say, thanks for yesterday. Say, I believe that that's how you're doing to all your colleagues, right? So that's, and it is a big conflict, right? Because at some point it's going to get that. So how can we manage this perspective for, across culture?
I slightly disagree. Respectfully disagree. I respectfully disagree. I mean, yes, there are some people where there's some cases where you automatically know that yes, you're going to defer to the person. But when it comes to, since we're talking transcultural, across different cultures of different generations, there are different things that appeal to different generations. For instance, like he said, you are going to meet the baby boomer in Nigeria. You will hear native because that is what they appreciate. But there are some other baby boomers who would not, because you know that person personally, or you know what that person personally appreciates, that's why you choose that, okay, you're going to then start with for that person. But there are other people who are still in that same generation who would look at you different if you were native to compete them. So there's the okay, this is what the whole generation appreciates. But then there's also understanding this is what this person, even though the person is a member of that generation, try to understand what that person in particular appreciates
more, and using that to sort of present your perspective. There's also the differences. There's also the difference in different countries, same generation, different countries. Okay, me now, okay, I have the benefit of understanding more than one country because my parents are my dad is from one part of Nigeria, my mom is from another part of Nigeria. And a lot of people say things like, oh, people from that other part of Nigeria don't have respect because they don't greet, they don't kneel down to greet or they don't prostrate to greet. Whereas those people have a different definition of respect. They have an entirely, they are very, very, very respectful. There's a lot of respect about culture. It is just not it's not just expressed in the same way over here. So people who grow up in that culture have a difficulty in expressing Yoruba culture in when they when you see them because that is not what they are familiar with. So since now we are interacting with different cultures, it's important to understand that okay, different cultures are actually different things, different people are actually different things. I now, if I see if I'm coming to somebody else, I think there are times when I feel like people calling me sir is over it's too much respect. It's over how would I be like calling me sir? What am I doing? I don't. So usually I just feel okay, we do that. So let us give ourselves that same level of respect. So if you are trying to engage me to engage with, in a way it's a joke, but I'm also doing it to show you that I also respect you at the same time. So different cultures understand how to if you are dealing with people from different cultures, you have to understand how to relate with these people based on the generation that they are in, the culture they grew up in, and who they are as an individual. So in a way, you're going to have to become like a chameleon because since you are relating with the digital space has opened us to talk to millions of different communities and different interactions on a daily basis. You have to understand how to relate with all of these people. Right, okay, this is even a good example. There was something I saw on LinkedIn today. A lady who just graduated from UI, dentistry. She posted a picture of her accident and then she also posted that she was the best quality student. Now, for the way they do it in UI is that letting out your dentistry as for the first 4 years, they do all the same courses. So 100 level, 200 level, 300, 400, to 400. We do the same courses. The dentists, the dental students, they do different courses in 500 and 600. But for those who first 4 years, so apart from 100 level, let's 100 level, because everybody from science to education, and everybody does the courses together. But from 200 level, we expect clinical up until 400 level. The courses that dentistry and medicine do together, she was the best, she was the highest scorer in all of those. Usually it happens that medical medicine students are better in those. And she just posted that she was the best medicine student in all of these courses and she was eventually very happy about only thing. Fine. There's actually no problem with that. LinkedIn is the place to do things like that. You flex, you start move out, shake and move out. Not understanding that okay, there are different perspectives now. So what you have believed to be true is not necessarily the truth for every other person in the world. So there's that need for respect and understanding what the other party appreciates. Then you use that as when it comes to the workplace now, using that understanding what that person likes or understanding what that person respects and using that as like the front for your approach to the person so that there is a perception of mutual respect, if I can say that.
So I think the scenario that you gave actually like a lot of point of discussion. But I want to ask you, so how do we now approach or how do we resolve this conflict? Right? Now we have opened up the space, right? That we even have beyond generational, cultural, even the English
Generational culture,
cultural standpoint. Now, contextual cultural standpoint, right? Say that when you are on the series,
okay, you
you
yourself in the particular.
when
When you're on Twitter, okay, when
and the fact is that I know of someone that anything that you post pass on your page on LinkedIn, their manager will, if their manager will check it, you now screenshot and say, dramatic error. The person will highlight dramatic error, kindly change, kindly update, right? So what can we in the research, right? When we have conflicts and the basis of that conflict, or the major differences is being caused by cultural differences. Because I think we are the same generation, or come from the same friend, or we are the same level. We can actually, it doesn't mean that have such difference. There's a cause of these differences. How can we resolve it in the recent life? I think it's because most times is that event our someone will swallow up the problem and we move on. It will now be one day when the another person in that generation now did something to you. Blessing something that is true, even let's go. You now say it's that is your name. So how can we mitigate it on time? Right? How can we so that is now practical. But in my head, maybe solution here. I can go back and resolve conflicts, several conflicts. I can go back and resolve several conflicts. Yeah, because you did that now. So now, so while we are actually thinking about it, so I have this issue last month where someone dropped a message from your WhatsApp. The person is far away than me, so different generation. Person dropped a message. I called the person back, right? And after calling the person back, I felt that's all. The person was not like, I took the pain to send a message, and he cannot respond to the message. But we have already spoken on phone concerning what you asked on WhatsApp. They don't need it. You shouldn't be having issue on it. Right? Let's say you may not even respond to the greeting.
Sorry for the
Right? We've spoken on phone. So the matter has already been resolved. Another case, you ask the question. Me, I believe that the response is like, okay, it's a typical scenario. Oh, kindly forward the money to the person. Right? So mine is just I pick up the phone and I transfer the money. And I didn't respond to you. Awesome. You want me to action something. I've already actioned it. Get closed. I've already, so I should now, the person expecting to say, oh, I will action it. I've already done it. But you know that you are where immediately the person is getting it.
In that scenario, I think what happened there is, what I can see that happened there is probably this person um, is kind of, he puts himself above you to some extent. He feels that coming to send you a message and you leaving that conversation, making it an open-ended conversation, like there was no response to it. So he feels, there will be another time where he would need you to do something and he double texting you again. I don't know if you if you get that. So he feels like even though you have you responded by taking action immediately, but you should have, how do I put this? To be very clear. At least you should have acknowledged this message. Yeah. So you should have acknowledged that, okay, message was received, and probably even get back to you because okay, you have actually done that assignment.
I think another thing that in a case like that is, I think, well, let me say this way. I think the issue that the person had was, fine, we have spoken about it, but there is no record. Yeah. There's no like visual record of what transpired, how that issue was resolved. So you have, when he sent you the message, you called him and then you spoke on the phone. I don't know if whether it was a normal call or it was WhatsApp, I don't know. Either way, if you can, you can be able to go back and then all you can see is okay, we spoke for so and so minutes. But the actual content, the actionable steps, or the action steps in the conversation are lost. It's only you who remembers and he remembers. The problem with memory is that you might remember some things differently in a few days. He might also remember some things differently in a few days. And that might be the start of another conflict again. Because you don't want to say
It's not really like something that we document, right? It's really more like, oh, how are we doing this? Okay, can you do it? Yes, I can do it. No, I cannot do it. Right? It's something I think the person is sending a message. But I've even still speak of and we still move on, right? I'm just thinking, right, is it the communication or the expectation of different generations in that sense?
Yeah, you remember you mentioned the person is part of the different generation. Just like, somebody talking to you and you not respond. So that's the kind of feedback he is translating the digital world to the actual present, you understand? So it's just like somebody said, do this for me, please do this for me. And you just kept quiet. Even though you had gone to do that thing, but that point at which, that the time frame at which you are silent leaves a lot of open end. So the person doesn't feel you have acknowledged what he had asked you to do. Or probably you just did it because you just felt I should do this. Maybe he felt that probably you were not happy doing it. So those are the kind of, messages it leaves. Maybe you saw the message and you did it, and you did it out of compulsion, or you were not supposed to do it and you went ahead actually to do it. So you acknowledging that, okay, I'll do it, means that, okay, you have actually accepted that you do this and you're doing it. For that thing. Yes.
So the practical way now is communicate well, right? As you have mentioned, yes, it's communication. And also, uh, time is very key in solving conflicts. Time is very key because by the time you have wasting time, definitely a lot of things will have happened. Basically, I narrated the story to another person, you complicate it and back and forth. So for us as leaders, right? Because in every area that we are leading one way or the other, um, our best, our best. We have discussed all this, just chatting moving forward. Uh, I would like us to be political, but personally, what are the key things key takeaways? Because we are pretty much like just running off. What are the key takeaways for us from this conversation? Saying that going forward, I picked a lot. Going forward, these are the key things I will have to do. Resolving conflict, intra conflict that you have to resolve, right? And that is even more deeper than with an external person. So, as leaders, how best can we, what are the key things key takeaways from this conversation that we are saying going forward, even with generational differences that is causing conflict? These are the best way to resolve them. If it's perspective, this is how I'm going to address it. If it's within workspace, these are the best. This is the best way to address it. So I just want us to have a resolution out of all this, right? Even if it's just one, for me now, just to respond to message that speak as person. Say, even if I've done it, my own is, oh, you asked me to do something, I've done it. Let's forget about it. Then I'm saying that, thank you. So just thank you. I don't want to, right? What you need to do, I've done it. Let's move on, right? If you say, can you jump on the call? I wouldn't say yes, you can jump. If it's convenient for me, I die straight, right? Me, I feel like I'm not like an action person. If you want to invest in, if I'm not doing, I will tell you. So unless I'm not doing, if it's negative, then say this. But if it's positive, I feel like it's positive. Let's get it right. But so I have to consider the other party, regardless of what you have done. Whether you have done it or you haven't done it, we should still say that. That means I have to learn that, and that is what I'm taking, like a takeaway from this conversation, right? So I just wanted everyone to have like a very key takeaway, so that you say, oh, I didn't know this conversation. This you did not share the takeaway.
Okay, so I think first one I think make is I want to look at conflict resolution from the generational perspective. We don't take the time to sit down. Just doing this conversation is okay, understanding things. I've thought of the technique because of my personal reflection different ethnic backgrounds. So I thought of that. Now this gives me the opportunity, or these are the opportunities to explore a generational divide or generational gap and what that generational gap can cause, and also how to resolve such things. So by respecting um, the other generation's perspective. Okay, so I think that older generation they appreciate because they probably grew up on email communication or written communication, they appreciate written communications a lot more. So for this time where I'm going to be working more with the older generation, I should just defer to them on that. Give them that because that is what they are comfortable with. It's not like I can't do it. Just that I'm not used to it. But since that is what they are used to, and then they are in the position of it's just a communication thing. So let's just help ourselves communicate better. So let's help ourselves communicate better. Let's be as explicit as possible in my communication, my written communication, as explicit as possible. But then I also understand that okay, as time goes on, I might need to also give other people that same understanding as well. So as it has been, even if I wasn't able to receive that, I should be able to give it out to other people so that what I understand based on my own experience, I understand the situation I was in. So I don't want to put other people in that same situation as well, and then and that conflict arising from that. So I just give that to other people where I let them choose how best would you like us to communicate, how frequently would you like us to communicate, and how what mode of communication works best for you. Are you more independent, or do you like a lot of back and forth before we arrive at the conclusion of something? So that's it.
Yeah, wonderful. That's very interesting, right? So let's
Okay, for me, my key takeaway here, I think, for all this was said, is that I think I've learned to explore a lot of emotional intelligence ways and dealing with conflict. The way that there are parties in play when it comes to communication, and those different parties have different perspective towards the way they approach things and the way they approach life, cutting across. So we didn't talk about religion. That's another strong one.
That's a very strong one. So like
religion is deeper.
yeah,
Forget about culture. Culture is small.
Culture is actually small.
Especially in Africa, religion is very, very deep. Very, very
It's actually not just in Africa, it's just the human thing.
Yes.
Once there's a set of beliefs that you want to hold above everything else, and we just take a look at the US election and how religion plays a huge role in the US election. It's not just Africa that happens that religion plays a huge role. There's also the US elections, the French elections that happened just a few weeks ago. There was the whole undertone of people from a certain religious background. Oh, this is what they are always commenting at every single time. Whereas it is not, okay, let us blow it out of proportion and make, oh, we also see that, oh, by the next few years, people from this religious background are going to turn to this, and that, oh, your children are going to do this. So, it's not just Africa, it's all over the world. It's even in places that improve and so advanced. Yeah. Very awesome.
So I think the same thing still, the same technique.
Yeah.
I see using to address because religion can be seen as maybe Muslim, Christian, Jew, and that. Even under each of them,
Yeah, still there's a
Yes.
there's
a whole spectrum of belief system. So it is more deeper, right? People even easily open up based on different perspectives, right? Than religion. People are more rigid,
yeah,
right?
Once we have more
consensus. So the best way is to make sure that you try as much as possible to understand the other person. You can't understand the other person 100%. But the fact is that most times, we don't ask questions. So we are working on the project for PWs in the workspace, and they are saying that most times we assume for them. We assume that when you want to greet them, this is the way you should greet them. Or you assume that you should do say we are using wheelchair, right? And when you have someone that is using wheelchair, it's not something they want to be accorded that they are using wheelchair. Who's telling you that they don't want to be called with their wheelchairs name, right? So most times we assume for them, right? Why can't you ask them what works best for you? I want to be addressed. Because with that, it's going to open the communication and it will be there. So even for us, meeting someone, even if they're interested in minutes and then still ask them questions, right? If you perceive so there's a gap, right? Still ask. But majorly because the way the setting, the cultural setting, we don't ask questions. I can't even remember how many questions I asked my mom. All of them are like, we are not open to, or we are not exposed to asking questions. And we need to start learning to ask questions. It's going to save us a lot of issues, right? You're angry. It's not like
And then I think another thing when it comes to questions, it's not just asking questions. People have different intentions behind asking the question. You can be asking the question just to prove a point. But then there's also people asking a question because you truly want to understand the other perspective. You make sure that you're asking a question to truly understand the other perspective, not just because you want to catch them in a chat. Like ask questions that you fall into the trap.
So I think that is very, very so the same thing is goes for religion. So let's ask a lot of questions so that we can better understand other person's perspective, what they like. So people like to cause the first day at the first time that it's in there. They just like you to especially leave you before, right? They are working on that branch, working in nobody cares. You're supposed to say, oh, this is the first thing you're saying.